I was talking to Brian just now, and we were talking about that "Say Hi, Bobby," and that video is just so much Doug taking somebody to jail and holding the camera up for the guy in the cage to say, "Hi, Bobby," and "Kurt, I'm going to be a little late to work tomorrow, and you know why." So, brings a smile to my face. Doug, like so many of us here today, I can see you in my office, I can see you in my driveway, I see you inside my house. I see you pulling up car to car with me, talking about your kids, your wife, and your favorite hobby of fixing cars. Telling stories like no one else could, using that golden sense of humor that we all knew. I can hear your distinctive voice, that signature laugh, and I can hear you shout that one phrase that you always shouted every time you saw me. "What's up, my brother?" Every one of us has spent the last week and one day wishing that God would have provided a different outcome. What I would give so many of the Doug stories again, the years of fast food runs, and the decades of laughter together. To the Barney family, I share in your grief. God bless you and your strength, and know that all of us stand with you. For many of you that don't know me, I am Chris Bertram. I am proud, I am honored to be a good friend of Doug Barney. He was an even better friend to me. Although Doug may have made me feel like he was my best friend, all of you today here are proof that Doug was a good friend and even your best friend to everyone. I spent 18 years in law enforcement with Doug. 7 of those I was his supervisor. In those 7 years, Doug never walked into my office, in my precinct. Instead, he had an electric glide slide, and he would glide into the center of my doorway. He'd point his fingers at me, and he'd say, "Chief, my brother." He didn't invite himself in. He just let himself in, and we'd revisit the 3 biggest subjects: family, cars, and police work. Family came first to Doug. Erica, you were more than a wife to Doug. You were a saint. Your unwavering support of him through his law enforcement career, your endless compassion through his fight with cancer, the lingering health issues, and the ongoing pain. And this week, in our darkest hour, you have been an example of strength to your children, to your family, to my family, to your neighbors, to your friends, and to the residents across this state, and especially to your police family. Maddie, Mary, Jack, you gave your dad a reason to brag, and he did a lot. Maddie, your singing voice, it was his pride. Mary, your artistic talents are his joy. And Jack, your father raised a son who could light up a room just like he did. Jack, for you to speak up this week and say that you wanted to be a police officer when you grow up is nothing short of heroic. I believe every police department represented here today in this building would be honored to hire you when that time comes. Your father lived for police work. It was a perfect fit. On duty or off, Doug possessed a personality that stepped in a room long before he ever did. He had a sense of humor to help keep the pains of this profession in perspective. He had an instinct every good cop wanted and every great cop has. He served the citizens of this state with compassion, and he served them with love. And though it was hard at times, I think that he worked more part-time jobs than any other officer that I knew. From the first years we were on the force together, our friendship grew quickly, and it was a natural fit. Doug and I had a lot in common. We both loved food, especially off the dollar menu at McDonald's. And if we worked a little overtime, we'd supersize it. He was generous, and he often bought food for the rest of his crew and shared it with us. Doug and I also loved the gift of gab. We loved to talk a lot, often at the same times and over each other. We were both 6'5". We looked like twin brothers at times. Our likeness confused a lot of people. In fact, people would call me Doug, and they would call him Chris. We knew our likenesses served the cop rumor mill very well also. People would say, "Why is a sergeant supervising his brother?" I think that's nepotism. In my 25-year career, before I retired, I worked with good police officers. I've known great police officers, and then above all, there is Doug Barney. He was a master of his trade. He dedicated his life to this department and to his brothers and sisters in blue. First on scene, you hoped Doug was your backup. He had a natural technique to de-escalate tense and dynamic situations. He was smart, he was intuitive, and he was devoted to the communities that he served. If there was a popularity contest among police officers, Doug would have captured the title. Time and time again, I would witness residents of Holiday request Officer Barney to take their case. Word spread about his compassion, and we had people showing up at our precincts at times, not to file a report, but just to talk to Doug about life. It was how Doug treated people. It was his character, and that set him apart from others. Doug's sister Tammy put it perfectly this week. Doug never thought himself above anyone else. The night before Doug passed away, my oldest daughter had car trouble. It was a cold Saturday night in Kansas, and she thought, "I'll call Doug in the morning and he can diagnose the problem." She never got the chance. I couldn't put a number on how many people would contact Doug about car repair advice, and it was often free. Doug connected with cars like nobody I knew. He repaired them, and he had a talent that he learned from his father, Doug. He loved it so much that on his days off, he would spend time up in Layton with Kurt at a repair shop working on cars. If you needed to buy a car, you knew to ask Doug first. He knew every make, model, year, the upsides, the downsides, the recalls, and the reliability, how long a car would last, and how much or what the right price was to pay. And every time I asked him what was the very best used car money could buy, Doug had the same answer every time. A 1996 Buick Roadmaster. I have no idea why. But I believe you, Doug. I always believed you. As we gather to mourn the passing of Officer Doug Barney, I know he would have wanted us to go forward and focus our attention on the goodness of his life. Doug's legacy is his passion for service, his compassion toward everyone, his dedication to his law enforcement family, and his perpetual love for his family. I can't forecast when or if the pain of Officer Barney's murder will fade. But I do know this: Doug's commitment to serve and protect is still with us all. His eternal assignment is to keep watch over his family, my family, your family, and our entire law enforcement family. I know when I speak for the countless others when I say, I am honored to call you my friend. Doug, I miss you, I love you, and I salute you for your bravery. Officer Barney, you are forever my brother, and you will always be my hero. I reluctantly accept Doug's recent transfer. I do it with the joy that today Doug stands roll call in the most perfect precinct of them all. Until we meet again, my brother.